Mukilteo Elementary Falcons. Do you know where I am? I am in our garden, our own Mukilteo Elementary garden. We have had teachers and students and community members working so hard for months and months now. And I'll have Mrs. Morris, she's our video person. She's gonna pan around so you can see the beautiful things that are popping up in our garden. We have spinach and lettuce and carrots and kale and so much more. Today I have a story about a garden to tell you. It's called The Curious Garden and it's by Peter Brown. This is about a garden that starts in a very unusual place. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. Oh, that city just looks so dull and lifeless. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. On one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway as he did from time to time when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. Here's Liam, and he has found this old railway. There used to be a train that would travel along these tracks up here. Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last thing he had expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. Here he is. You can see the tracks where the trains used to travel. And on those tracks that are broken up, look at these little patches of flowers, little patches of trees. And here's Liam. Who do you think is going to be the gardener that takes care of those plants? Who do you think? Let's see. Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. Oh no, at the beginning he's dumping water over the flowers, maybe giving them too much. But the flowers were patient, and look what's happening, Falcons. Look at these beautiful trees and flowers growing. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Look how beautiful those flowers are. Ooh, you can see it from up high. Look at Liam is right here, and look at that garden growing with all of those flowers. Over the next few months, Liam and the Curious Garden explored every corner of the railway. Look at that beautiful garden of flowers. And there's Liam in the middle. There's some old train tracks and flowers blooming all around. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. Oh, here he's reading all about gardening. Looks like he's gathering some tools. There's his gardening book again. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Here he comes with his wheelbarrow full of tools. Winter had taken a toll on the garden, but thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. The garden has always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. Look where the garden is stretching. This is an old pickup truck, and there are just flowers and plants blooming all around it. Here's a boarded up little window, and look, a tree is growing right out of it. That garden is curious. It's stretching all over the place. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. My friends, can you see where these plants have covered? That's a stop sign. Oh no. And this viney plant has covered what? A fire hydrant. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. Wow, Falcons, before it was just Liam, but look, can you see people everywhere that are now gardeners in the city? Look at all of them. And more gardeners, people enjoying the garden. Look at all of these gardeners and people enjoying the flowers and plants and trees. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed, but of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. Here are the gardeners, that beautiful railway garden. My friends, this book is based on a true story. Did you know that in New York City, this actually happened? There was an old railway, and it has turned into this beautiful garden. Thank you so much for visiting our garden and listening to this story. I can't wait to see you again. Bye, Falcons.